So it looks like we have fully solved an official Easter egg for Horizon, and this also explains why we never saw a jump scare. This is a step-based Easter egg, which makes it an official side Easter egg for Horizon. Players had been reporting an unidentified flying object in the sky, and we didn't know what we were looking at. Some coders were able to identify what this was, but we weren't sure how to trigger it because sometimes people would see it in game and sometimes people wouldn't. And in my previous video, I explained that this is Dempsey's cryopod that is orbiting around the castle, and it comes flying in during one of the steps of the Easter egg. And shout out to Vertice, he posted on Twitter some of the coding to let us know it was Dempsey, basically, and it was an orb that twinkles. We wanted to go in and see if there was more with it, but we quickly ran into the problem of we can't get this thing to spawn in or show up. And I'll show you guys what it takes to get this to spawn in, because there is a step, and then I'll explain why this is what we got instead of a jump scare. I do want to give a shout out to the 3 people that have seen this in game. Losario Project saw it a year ago on old gen, so it does exist there. So it's pretty important if it's on old gen. He had made a video and he was like, I have no idea what this thing is in the sky. And then about a month ago in my Easter egg hunting group, your Soul Reaper also spotted it in game. Then Codename was in a live stream and he spotted it, and we're all like, okay, what is this thing? It is time to find out. Shortly after that, a coder by the name of Vertice posted on Twitter showing us some of the code to let us know what this thing was called. In the lines of code, it showed some instruction, but most of it was hashed, and we really didn't know what we were supposed to do. A lot of people were thinking it just shows up in game no matter what, but that is not the case. And I was going to go in and start checking this thing out, and I had seen a post by I Am Switters. He said, I've been in game for 12 solid hours. I have not seen the orb. So I contacted him and we jumped in game and started to hunt. And then I started a live stream, and that's where we started to really move along and get some more answers. And shout out to everybody in my chat. It was really a group effort. They had a lot of good input that helped us get to the point where we could fully and completely solve this. So thank you to Zeus and all the other guys. Your input really did help. After the stream was over, me and Switters went back in and grinded it out, and we were able to figure out the exact steps. And I'm just explaining all this because this was a really fun hunt, and I want to give a shout out to everybody. So I'm just kind of letting y'all know how this process worked out. There was a lot of great ideas in the live stream where it was like, stay in the spawn for a certain amount of time, or don't leave, or don't open the door. And sometimes that worked and sometimes it didn't, but it has nothing to do with the spawn area at all. So this thing does not spawn in on its own. You have to trigger it. And this is just like a jump scare Easter egg. You have to look at a certain spot to make it spawn in, and you have to do it at a very specific time. So the coding was saying wait 60 seconds, and we didn't really know what to do with that, but it is correct. And what that means is that as soon as you spawn into the game, meaning as soon as you see yourself spawn into the game, that's when that 60-second countdown starts. At that 60-second mark, you have to be looking in the sky at a very specific spot. Now, you don't have to be targeted on it, but that spot needs to be on your screen somewhere. The location you need to have on your screen is just left of the moon, between these 2 mountains here. There's a dark spot in the clouds. That's where his orb is going to spawn in. And you have to be looking at that spot at the 60-second mark. You can be looking at it before, but if you're a couple of seconds late, it's not going to happen. It won't spawn in. And right here, you can see it's right at the 60-second mark. I'm looking up there and you can see the very tiny little twinkle orb spawning in. It's going to travel clockwise around the entire castle, and it takes about 3 minutes and 40-ish seconds to make a full loop. And you can see its entire path. It never goes behind mountains or anything. It's always visible. So what this means is that you don't have to be in spawn to get it to trigger. You can be anywhere on the map as long as you're looking at that spot in the sky at the 60 seconds. Right here, I'm out by Double Tap, and I could see it spawn in because I was just simply looking at it. And then, just to prove it, I put on some mods, gave myself some money, and then hauled ass over to the bell tower to see that, yeah, you can see it from there as well. And you can get to this spot right here with like shopping free or mods, and you'll still be able to spawn it in. Now I'll show you guys that this is in fact necessary to look at it to spawn it in, because I played a game and I looked at the ground and looked away from that spot in the sky and went the full 60 seconds and then waited a few seconds after, and I turned around and yeah, there was nothing in the sky. After it spawns in, there is a way to despawn it, which falls in line with the Easter egg steps in the storyline. I'll show you guys what part of the Easter egg that happens and show you it despawning, but first I want to explain why we didn't get a jump scare and why this was the replacement. So the jump scare was on schedule for this map, but obviously we didn't get it, and with it being such an iconic map, you would think they would want to do something like that and something special. Well, they have, and this is what it is. So jump scare Easter eggs are triggered by you looking at something, and they call them look at Easter eggs. That's literally what they're called in the code, and this is the same thing. This is a look at Easter egg, and it's possible that they didn't want to put a jump scare in as well because it might have been too repetitive, and they seem to be kind of wanting to mix up this look at Easter egg and these jump scares. As you can see on Zetsubou no Shima, that look at jump scare is really different from what we're used to. And just being in this industry for a while and seeing all these Easter eggs, to me, that's what this looks like. This was just the alternative version to a jump scare. And this was one of the biggest questions I had for Dorizen. Why did we never get a jump scare? And for me, this answers that question, and I'm happy with it. I'm satisfied. So we have unlocked the secret of how to spawn him in, and now there's a way to despawn him, which goes along with the Easter egg and during one of the Easter egg steps. If you can keep your eye on him and find him in his orbit during this step, you will see his light fade and despawn. And shout out to Maniac Killa and his crew for helping me go in and find the spot where he actually despawns. And this happens right after you go back in time and you go into the lab and collect the items and then come back to the present time. So the good news is if you want to see him despawn, you're not going to be stuck in the lab while it's happening. It actually happens the moment that you go to play the Simon Says. So the instant that you interact with the machine is when his orb despawns, which makes sense because right after that, his pod does come crashing down. But yeah, this is so cool to be solving an actual Easter egg that has a step in 2023, many years later, on the most iconic map. And now I feel confident to say that this is completely solved. There's nothing more to it. We had speculated maybe there was a jump scare within this, but now seeing how this works, that this is a look at Easter egg, yeah, this thing is done. I think most of us thought that there's no more interactable Easter eggs to be found, but this has surprised us, and it makes me wonder if there is anything else that we are missing. Now, there is still a massive Easter egg on Dorizen that nobody's really posting about. I'm still putting that video together. It's not interactable, but it's still pretty massive, and it's amazing that most people have missed this. And I'm also putting it on the list of being in the category for the impossible Easter egg. There might be something here that is the impossible Easter egg and where Jason has hidden it. I will get that video to you guys, but I hope you guys enjoyed this, and we'll see you next video.
Thank you for watching Glitching Queen's video. Hoorah!